back. Listen, would you believe that our next two guests, listen, they are the real deal. A real cowboy and a real cowgirl. We have Ted and Linda Riddle. They co-authored No Looking Back. True to life Western story that came to the author early one Sunday morning. We're going to be talking about that real soon. Welcome, Ted and Linda. How are you?
Oh,
We're fine, thank you.
welcome to our home.
Well, it's good to be in your home. That is a beautiful fireplace right behind you. That's gorgeous.
He built this.
Wow, Ted. Awesome. And I love the outfit, the shirt, and the hat. You're a well-dressed man. Linda, keep up the good work.
Yeah.
He's the winner, the keeper.
Listen, let me read a little bit about the two of you. Ted was born near Red Rock, Oklahoma, and graduated from Oklahoma State University. He owned and operated his ranch of Longhorn cattle and wheat in northern Oklahoma, where he raised two daughters and built a log home. He is the former president of the Oklahoma chapter of the American Agriculture Movement, an organization to save the family farm. Very, very good. Very much needed. When he quit ranching, he pursued his electrical degree by supervising the building of electrical substations and wind farms throughout the Midwest. And Ted retired in 2009. And Linda Love Riddle was born in Delta, Colorado, moving at a young age to Spinard. Did I say that right?
Yes, sir.
Spinard, Alaska, near Anchorage, continuing her education in Kansas and Oklahoma. She raised three sons and co-owned and operated the Daylight Donut Shop. And you're going to have to help me with these words there. Tonkawa, and Blackwell, Oklahoma for many years. And Linda studied at Northern Oklahoma College in that city she just named. And so, listen, this is beautiful. Please tell me, how did you all arrive to the place of creating such a phenomenal piece of literature? Tell me about it.
Linda.
Oh, I want to tell it. Ted woke up early one Sunday morning. We were in Oklahoma, and he said, "I know how I died." Well, that startled me and woke me up. And this story just flowed from his mouth. I laughed. I wept. It was a strange sounding voice, a different dialect. It was English, but it was different. And I was amazed. But for some reason, I reached for a yellow pad and a pencil, and I just started writing down what he said. We were still in bed. I just started writing down what he said. He wouldn't slow down. He didn't say, "What do you think of that?" He didn't dream it. This was not a dream. He didn't make it up. It came. I call it the gift. I fully believe that God gave Ted this gift of this story for the world. So my hands started cramping, and he didn't stop. But I remembered I had a tape recorder. So we got up, I got the tape recorder, we went in the living room. This went on for 3 or 4 hours. This story, this amazing Western, started in the Civil War, went out west. The story's about Tom Summers. Tom wanted to be a rancher, a cowboy. When he left the Civil War wounded, he was severely wounded in his leg, and the doctor wanted to amputate his leg. And the nurse nursed him back, to health. And the nurse said, "Now, if you'll go west about 200-300 miles, there's no war." And Tom didn't want to kill anymore. He was tired of that killing. He was in the worst battle at that time in the Civil War called Stones River. And they found him. They heard him coughing. He was in a pile of the dead and dying, one of the worst battles of the war when they found him. So the nurse kissed him, his first kiss, and he headed west into through Arkansas, and I drew all the illustrations in this book.
Exactly.
Of the cabin in Arkansas, that he heads for western Oklahoma Territory, and The adventures continue, one after the other. The book is full of stories about many people. He lives with the Indians for a year, and they will tell that later. Or right now, his horse got bogged down in quicksand in a river, and he was surrounded with a ball of snakes, and an Indian lady reached a branch out to him to rescue him, and then he lived with him about a year. The book just keeps going like that. And I could talk forever, but that's how the story came in.
Okay, help me understand, Ted and Linda. Are you suggesting that in another life Ted experienced this?
I don't know.
I don't know whether it was another life. I've dwelled on that subject, but it never comes to me.
People ask us, we don't know.
You know, people say, oh, well, that's another life. I don't think so. But anyway, this is the story she tells, that's what happens. And I tell probably in that 3 or 4 hours, basically a guideline for more than half the book.
Most of the book. Oh, one more thing. When it was all over, now what do we do with it? We're not authors. I had a donut shop. He was a cattleman. We thought, well, maybe the grandchildren would like to hear it. He said, well, you put the eagles flying and the sunsets. So I got to develop, but we were still working long hours, construction, building wind farms all over the Midwest. We even went to Alaska twice. And I took my tape recorder and my yellow pad in a little suitcase because I was going to start working on it, in Alaska. But, there's a lot of fun things to do in Alaska, and I didn't do much work. So we retired, and that's when we got busy developing this story for you folks.
It's a beautiful book. I love the cover. I absolutely love the cover. Did you all draw all of this?
I did.
Okay. Oh.
Ted, this book cover, I had Ted turn around, put his cowboy hat on, his old cowboy jacket, and I drew, that's the back of Ted. Or someone said, well, maybe that's Tom Summers, the character in the book.
Hey, and just all of the detail, even the little, I called them the little horseshoes around the numbers of the page on the bottom. Everything is just awesome with the book. I do have a question. Chapter 17, to market, get along, little doggies. Tell me about that.
Well, he was gathering a herd of cattle very slowly because he didn't have much money. And that was his first cattle drive. And he was like 60 to 80 miles south of Dodge City, Kansas, when he was in the Oklahoma Territory. So this is the first cattle drive, crossing rivers, stampedes, lightning strikes, scares the cattle, and that's the story of the first cattle drive that they took up there. Him and 4 other cowboys.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
He went to, he had a little bit of money, and he ended up at Fort Camp Supply in Oklahoma, which was, in that particular time, was the only settlement. It was a fort or a camp. And they said, if you go to Texas, you'll find cattle for the taking. But you had to be a cowboy, and he wasn't. But he did find a lady that wanted to sell out, so he bought the cattle. Then he went and found 4 cowboys to help him bring the cattle up, and they stayed with him throughout. The first one he had was a former slave. His name was Joe. He didn't have a last name. He didn't know what it was. And he was with him for 30, 40 years. And when he died, he was bucked off a horse, and the horse stomped this man to death. He looked up at Tom and he said, I'm with my God.
Okay.
Add how Tom acquired this herd. It sounds like he had a lot of money. This is a story of survival. When Tom left the Indian village, he had nothing. He had a horse, saddle, nothing. And one of the dogs from the Indian village followed him, and he even gathered salt from the Great Salt Plains there close to Cherokee, Oklahoma, to sell. He sold salt, and he even ate grass just to survive. This is a story of survival. Tom had nothing when he started.
Oh, wow.
And God provided, and he wanted to be a cowboy, and he did it the hard way.
Awesome. Awesome. I love page 255. There is a church on Taos Trail. How do you pronounce that?
Taos Trail.
On the Taos Trail.
Taos Trail. Tom and Kyle Hands stop with the herd at the old church on the Taos Trail on their way to Fort Garland, Colorado. Is this a real place where you all?
Yeah.
Yes, that church is still there. I took a picture of the places where we say the story happened. That church is still there.
We were out driving around and we come across, you can see it's boarded up. It's really old.
Wow. Yeah. That's a very, very, very old building.
But in our story, Tom and his cowboys stop and give some of the cattle to the priest. And the
Correct.
priest blesses the cattle. That's what priests do. And wish them well on their journey. And it was historic. We kept the story historically correct with the years. For instance, 1886 was the worst blizzard they'd ever seen at the time.
It was consistent with history.
Yes, we kept it with history.
Yes.
That's a very good detail. Very good detail. Where could someone find No Looking Back?
Well, you can buy it from us. We love to go out in the community. Everywhere we go, we'll autograph it for you. We'll mail it to you. We have a web page. We have.
What's your website? We have 2 minutes. What's your website?
Ted and Linda Riddle .com.
tedandlindariddle.com, and it is only $21.95 for this awesome read.
It's on Amazon. It's Barnes and Noble, Walmart, Books A Million, a lot of places. Local bookstores, Ponca City, Brace Bookstore, in Tonkawa, Frames and Things.
Well, listen, you all have heard it right here. You could even get it on Walmart. And listen, thank you, Ted and Linda, for being with us on this episode. You all are you're beautiful. You're an adorable couple. High school, boyfriend, girlfriend, hooks up way later in life, and now you've been married for 21 years, and look what you created. You created an awesome, awesome piece of literature. All to the glory of God. Listen, Ted, keep on having those dreams, man. Keep on having those visions. That's what the Holy Spirit will do for you.
Yeah, we've got another one in the works, so.
Listen, and when you have that one, I want you to come back on the show and share that with us. Listen, I know you all have enjoyed Ted and Linda Riddle, No Looking Back. Listen, join us next week, same time, same place. I'm your host, Bishop O.C. Pringle. This has been a great episode. See you next week. Bye-bye.